Have you ever wondered why God's chosen ones face so many trials? Why are those who are called to great purposes often the ones who endure the greatest challenges? In this video, you will uncover the reason behind these trials and how they can transform your life. Get ready to understand how God uses challenges to shape His chosen ones, strengthen their faith, and guide them toward extraordinary blessings. Let's dive together into this revealing journey. How many times have you felt lost in the middle of a storm? Life feels overwhelming, problems arise from every direction, and it seems as though God is distant. In these moments, many ask, why does God allow this to happen to me? Has He forgotten me? This is a common question for those facing difficulties that seem insurmountable. But know that you are not alone in feeling this way. Throughout history, God's greatest servants have faced intense trials. Job lost everything he had, from his possessions to his health, yet he stood firm in his faith. Abraham was challenged to sacrifice his own son, something that seemed incomprehensible. These stories, though ancient, reflect the same struggles we face today: fear, doubt, and the feeling of abandonment. And yet, every trial they endured had a greater purpose. Just as they did, you too can find strength in difficulties and discover that behind every storm, there is a divine plan. Let's explore this deeper now. Now that we understand the emotional and spiritual impact of trials, let's look at the solution. Why does God allow His chosen ones to face such great challenges? In this video, we will explore 12 profound reasons that explain this process. We'll discuss how these difficulties shape character, strengthen faith, and pave the way for greater blessings. Each of these points is connected to powerful stories and inspiring examples. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn could transform your perspective on the challenges you're facing today. Let's start unraveling this mystery. God doesn't allow trials by chance. There is a clear and divine purpose behind every test we face. These challenges are like tools in the hands of a sculptor, used to shape our character and strengthen our faith. But what does that mean in practice? Let's look at the story of Job. He was a righteous man, faithful to God, yet he faced unimaginable losses. Job lost his possessions, his children, and even his health. It all seemed unfair, but in the end, his faith remained unshaken. And what happened? God restored him in extraordinary ways, giving him twice as much as he had lost. The lesson here is clear. Trials are not punishments but opportunities to demonstrate and deepen our trust in God. Another remarkable example is Abraham. He was tested in an unimaginable way when God asked him to sacrifice his own son, Isaac. Abraham obeyed without hesitation, demonstrating absolute faith. And at the critical moment, God intervened, showing that the test wasn't about the sacrifice itself but about obedience and trust. These stories teach us that God's tests are not about suffering, but preparation. They teach us to depend on Him, to trust in His plans, and to understand that, no matter how difficult the moment, He is guiding us toward something greater. Let's now dive deeper into what it means to be chosen by God and the unique challenges that come with it. Being chosen by God is an unparalleled honor, but it also comes with a responsibility that brings unique challenges. When God chooses someone, He's not promising an easy life but a mission. And every mission requires preparation, resilience, and unshakable faith. Moses is a perfect example. He was chosen to lead the people of Israel out of slavery in Egypt. However, his journey was filled with challenges, facing Pharaoh, leading a rebellious people, and trusting God in the wilderness for 40 years. Moses could have given up in the face of such difficulties, but he understood that being chosen meant bearing the weight of that mission with faith. Similarly, all of God's chosen ones face battles that others may never fully understand. This is because when we are called to a higher purpose, we also encounter greater opposition. The weight of being chosen includes moments of doubt, loneliness, and even misunderstanding from others. But it is precisely in this weight that we find the strength to draw closer to God. Trials teach us to rely completely on Him, knowing that, on our own, we cannot bear the responsibility. Being chosen is, above all, trusting that God will provide the resources and strength necessary to fulfill the mission. Let's explore how the trials we face act as a refining process, removing our imperfections and transforming us into something greater. The trials we face in life are not random. They have a profound purpose: to refine us, purify us, and prepare us for something greater. This process can be compared to gold being purified in fire. For gold to reach its purest and most valuable form, it must be subjected to extreme heat to remove all impurities. Similarly, God uses difficulties to shape and transform us. A clear example of this is the Apostle Peter. He denied Jesus 3 times in a moment of weakness, but through that failure, he was refined by God. Later, Peter became a rock in the foundation of the early church, a strong and unshakable leader. This refining process is painful but necessary to remove pride, doubt, and everything that holds us back from reaching our full potential in God. When we face challenges, we may feel as though we are being destroyed, but in reality, we are being rebuilt. God does not place us in trials to break us, but to strengthen us. Every difficulty we face is an opportunity to grow spiritually, to trust Him more deeply, and to become better versions of ourselves. Now, let's explore how these tests not only refine our essence but also call us to absolute trust in God, even when everything seems to be against us. Some trials feel so intense that they leave us with no way out. It is in these moments that God invites us to trust Him completely. When our human strength is no longer enough, that is when we learn to depend entirely on divine power. Think of Moses and the Israelites at the Red Sea. On one side, the Egyptian army was advancing; on the other, the sea seemed like an insurmountable barrier. Despair overtook the people, but God said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move forward." And at that moment, the impossible happened. The sea parted, showing that when we trust in God, He does what seems unattainable. This is God's call in our lives, to trust even when we cannot see the way forward. It is understanding that, in the silence and the waiting, He is working on our behalf. God does not want us to depend solely on our abilities or human solutions. He wants us to recognize that everything comes from Him. These moments of testing teach us that when we surrender our problems to God, He guides us on the right path, even if it seems impossible by human standards. Now, with this absolute trust in mind, let's dive into the relationship between trials and blessings. After all, it is in the fire of difficulties that great rewards are forged. The greatest blessings are often born out of the greatest trials. This may seem paradoxical, but it is a spiritual truth that transcends generations. God uses difficulties as stepping stones to elevate us to higher levels of faith, maturity, and purpose. Let's look at Joseph in Egypt. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned. For years, Joseph lived a reality that seemed far from any blessing. Yet, he remained faithful to God in all circumstances. At the right time, God exalted him, placing him as governor of Egypt. His trial was not just for him but for the purpose of saving an entire nation from famine. This is God's pattern. Trials are always preparation for something greater. Difficulties teach us lessons we could not learn otherwise. They make us stronger, more dependent on God, and more equipped to receive the blessings He has in store for us. Remember this: God does not waste a single tear or struggle. Every battle you overcome is a step toward the greater purpose He has prepared for your life. The blessings that follow trials are not merely material, they are spiritual and eternal. Now, let's talk about something essential: the hidden purpose behind difficulties. Even when we do not immediately understand the reasons for our struggles, there is always a greater plan at work. We do not always see the purpose behind our difficulties at the moment we face them. Often, trials feel confusing, unfair, and even unbearable. But when we look back, we realize that each challenge was aligned with a greater plan, a divine purpose that was not evident at the time. Consider the story of Esther, who became queen under unlikely circumstances. When her people faced the imminent threat of extermination, she risked her own life to intercede with the king. Esther may not have understood at first why she had been chosen for that position. But at the right time, it became clear. She was placed there for such a time as this. Her difficulty became the key to saving an entire nation. The same is true in our lives. God uses situations that, at first glance, seem challenging to open doors and fulfill purposes far beyond what we can comprehend. Sometimes, He shapes us through these difficulties, preparing us for something we will only understand later. That's why it's so important to trust, even when we don't have all the answers. God's silence does not mean His absence. He is always at work, orchestrating details that will only be revealed at the right time. Now, let's dive deeper into the motivation needed to endure these trials and how to keep it alive in our hearts during the process. During trials, it's easy to feel discouraged and lose the strength to carry on. However, it's precisely in these moments that we need to remember why we are facing these challenges. Trials are not the end. They are part of a process God uses to take us to the next level in our spiritual journey. Jesus gave us a powerful example of perseverance. In Gethsemane, He faced the weight of His mission, knowing the sacrifice would be painful. Yet, He said, "Father, not my will, but yours be done." Jesus understood that the suffering was temporary and that the glory and ultimate purpose would far outweigh any pain. Similarly, you must hold on to the promise that trials do not last forever. Something greater awaits you, something worth every tear and every effort. Remember James 1 verse 12, which says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." Use difficulties as fuel for your faith. Every step you take toward God, even in the midst of pain, is a step closer to victory. Now that we've reflected on this motivation, let's end with a call to action that will help you put this faith into practice and share this message with others. Now that you understand the purpose behind trials and how they shape the chosen ones, it's time to act. Don't let this message remain just a momentary inspiration. Make a decision today to face your difficulties with renewed faith and the certainty that God is in control. Here's the challenge: identify a trial you are facing right now. It could be a financial, emotional, or spiritual issue. Take a piece of paper and write down how this difficulty can be an opportunity for you to grow, trust God more deeply, and be prepared for something greater. When we do this, we start to see our struggles from a new perspective. And don't keep this message to yourself. There are people around you who are also facing challenges and need to hear that there is a greater purpose. Share this video with them, because you could be the tool God uses to bring hope and faith into someone's life. If this message touched your heart, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments the greatest insight you gained today. Let's spread this message of strength and purpose to the world together. The trials we face may seem endless, but never forget, they are temporary. What God has in store for you is eternal. Every challenge is an opportunity to draw closer to Him, strengthen your faith, and prepare for the blessings to come. Remember Paul's words in Romans 8 verse 18, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." This means that the weight you carry today is small compared to the greatness God is preparing for you. So, stay strong. Don't give up. Every tear, every prayer, and every step of faith matters. God sees your effort, and in His perfect timing, He will turn every struggle into victory. Trust that what you are facing now is part of a divine plan far greater than you can imagine. I'll end this video with a prayer. May God strengthen your faith, renew your hope, and light your path. May He remind you in every trial that you are chosen and that there is a greater purpose in all that you face. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs it. May God bless you abundantly, and I'll see you in the next video.